What's going on? Welcome in. It is a Tuesday night, the first Tuesday night of the last month of the year 2025. You freaking believe that, buddy? We are in December. You are now free and permitted to hang holiday decorations. Now that we've passed Thanksgiving, you can listen to Christmas music if you so wish to stab your eyeballs out. You can argue brackets because we have one that is almost complete. And the NFL gave us another wacky, wild weekend. They just stretched it out over a whole bunch of days. So it's been a minute. So we got to go. And look who's crawling out of the woodworks early. Mr. I can't answer my phone all day Saturday while I was trying to reach out to him. Stressful day for him and for Raj. The Iron Bowl, we got plenty of stuff to talk about, including how the committee, speaking of Herb and Raj, how the committee tonight, seemingly Mack used Notre Dame as a shield for Alabama, just in case Alabama loses the SEC title game, and Notre Dame is now the back padding. A lot of shit going on. Last I know, you're not up for any of these open jobs right now. You're right here with me. How was your extended Thanksgiving weekend now that we've got it all the way in the rearview mirror?
It was really good. It was nice. It was peaceful. Enjoyed a lot of football, which was really good. Even though it wasn't great football, I enjoyed the exchange I had with Herb on Saturday night as he was trying to get through that Alabama game. I was changing clothes with him as much as I possibly could, but there's no way I could keep. There's no way I could keep up with that man.
Family show.
I didn't say.
I mean, we joke with you all the time, and it literally says this on your Twitter bio that you are a sports T-shirt enthusiastic. Whatever words are not going to.
Yes,
I feel like
I have a lot of T-shirts.
I am going. You have a lot of shirts. Now, if you saw it, and again, if you're following us and you're not following Herb and Raj, what the hell is wrong with you?
Yeah, what's going on?
Follow them, because on their channel, they posted Herb's entire, and I hope this was the entire, but knowing he probably got a whole separate room in his house for the rest of it, but he posted the entirety of his Bama clothing line. This is why apparently he chose not to answer my call. In-laws Thanksgiving? Hey, different strokes, different folks, different areas. I get it. We'll chat about some stuff, because I was actually gonna try and put the five of us on the screen together at some point. Not that I would wish that on my worst enemy, but we got through it all, Mac. And I feel like now as we sit here, and I'm not just talking about stuff from the college football angle, I'm also talking about the NFL angle. The Niners did something in Cleveland that hasn't happened since I was literally 3 years old. My dad had a nice back and forth text exchange with me asking if I remembered watching the last time the 49ers won a game in Cleveland with him. I did not, as much as he thought I did. I feel like I have more questions in the NFL than I do answers, and I feel like in college football, I kind of feel the same way, but I think we saw a very strategic move from the committee to, again, in placement of where Alabama and Notre Dame, following Notre Dame, Miami was, and how the Duke Blue Devils can somehow just turn this entire thing upside down, sideways on its head this weekend, and we have no idea what's going to happen. So maybe the championship week intrigue is there for you. I've got more questions than answers, and I hope you can answer them for me, because you are our pseudo-commissioner on this program of college football.
I don't know, because I have a lot of questions. I looked at the bracket, a little while ago, and I mean, there's a couple of things that, I mean, right off the bat, I wonder about. So Let's just want to dive right into it.
Yeah, let's dive right into that
Uh,
bracket that came out tonight. If you didn't see it, well, here you go. Actually, I have it open now twice. Let's try and open it once and function as a normal human being here. Let's click on that again. And here we go. So your number one and number twos are no different than they were last week. Ohio State and Indiana, nobody's got a problem with that. Number three is Georgia. Number four is Tech. There's your buys. I think this is very interesting because number five is Oregon. They'd be the first time without a bye, or first team without a bye. And I think if you ask them, that might not be an unpreferred pathway for them after what happened last year. Number six, Ole Miss actually moved up despite Lane Kiffin leaving town. That thing we'll talk about even more. It took another twist today. Texas A&M, they fell to seventh. Oklahoma eighth. Alabama ninth. This is where it gets interesting. 10th is Notre Dame. 11th is BYU. 12th is Miami. 13 is Texas. So by general thinking here, Mac, it would tell us that Miami's the first team out, and right now Tulane, North Texas, or James Madison could be in that spot. But oh wait, there's more. Duke is playing number 17 Virginia in the ACC title game that nobody wants to watch, but has a hell of a lot to do with how a lot of this goes. The placement of James Madison at 25, as opposed to Duke sneaking into the top 25, the Duke versus the Dukes is going to be the thing to watch this weekend.
Oh yeah. Um, how do we even approach this? I mean,
Better you
okay.
than me.
Yeah. So I mean, here's my. I guess here's my first question. You look at the top four. You go, okay. They're going to be in there, but let's be honest. You could have three of the top four lose this weekend. That's a possibility. One is going to lose, but three of the
Yeah,
top
we're
four
guaranteed that.
right. But three of the top four could lose.
Mm-hmm.
Does let's just play that scenario out. Let's just say we'll go Indiana, Georgia, and Texas Tech lose. Do any or all of them lose that bye?
I think Indiana's body of work tells me that a loss to Ohio State drops them no less than fourth.
Okay.
That's how I would view them.
So Georgia would you say Georgia loses? They would have a first round game. They would lose their bye.
I would say so because of the placement of them. I think you can see what the committee thinks of
Okay.
Oregon. I think actually we can see what he thinks of Ole Miss. Now, maybe this was a sympathy vote for them to ensure their placement. Who knows? But as we found out today, Charlie Weiss has been given permission from Lane Kiffin to return, also with permission of Keith Golding and Keith Carter. There's a lot of Keiths involved in this situation, and K's, I've just realized in saying that out loud, to return to Ole Miss to be their offensive coordinator to maintain some continuity going forward. I think what we saw from the committee today is Ole Miss's body of work because we have no other way to compare this situation. A lot of people comparing it to what happened to Florida State a couple years ago. That's not the case. Because if we all remember correctly, we did get to see Florida State play without Jordan Travis once. We will not see Ole Miss play without Lane Kiffin one time at all before the playoff. So, as far as that conundrum goes between Georgia, Oregon, and Ole Miss, I would say would be the three teams in that category. I think you would give Oregon that spot, and it would
Okay.
drop Georgia out. Where it gets really interesting is I know a conference near and dear to your heart and TJ's
Right.
heart, which I'm pretty sure you're going, so take it away.
Right. Yeah. Okay. So we're playing out these scenarios. So BYU beats Texas Tech. So BYU gets in. They would get conference championship number 4. That would be their spot. Where does Texas Tech go? You can't take them out. So if you can't take them out, who goes out? Who do they replace? Notre Dame? I said that.
From the looks of what they did today, I would have to say yes, that would be your next team out would be Notre Dame because
And
BYU would be then a for sure in, and you can't take Texas Tech out. So I would assume the whole line goes below, which is why the placement of Alabama is, I think, patting them if they were to lose this game to Georgia because as we saw last year, remember the whole SMU Clemson thing, and we weren't going to penalize a team for playing that quote unquote 13th data point, as they like to say it in the trendy circles, and
Right.
SMU ended up not being penalized for playing that game. So I think Alabama's in a position with where they put them that in that scenario that goes down in the Big 12. Yes, the other catastrophic disaster scenario is the Duke game against Virginia and Duke ending up knocking off Virginia, because that adds a whole nother element to this.
Yeah, and see here's the issue then that I have, and I know we kind of didn't really talk about it, but we text a little bit about it. Why do you want to play this week? Why do you want to play this week? What you to win a to play another game, to win a conference championship, to lose and lose your bye? I mean, what incentive do you have to win and play this week? I mean, most teams. Let me preface it. If you're BYU, you have everything to play for. But if you're Indiana, if you're Georgia, if you're Ohio State, if you're Texas Tech, I mean, if you're Alabama, you have this is what I'm saying. You're playing an extra game now for a conference to win a conference championship, and all it can do is hurt you. It's probably not going to help you enough. So what's the incentive to play in this game?
Yeah, and there really isn't, unless again you're like you said, you're the team like BYU that has the world to play for. Where I have a problem with it is I don't think BYU really needs to state their case for entry into this. BYU not only put together a great year last year and missed out, they've basically done the same thing, if not better, this year. You know, they got thrown
Right.
in. Our guy Josh Pate said this perfect the other night. They got thrown in a phone booth by Texas Tech the first time they played. BYU should not be having to play their way in this weekend. It is what it is at this point. We know
Right.
that's exactly what's happening, but I don't think where BYU is placed, I have a big problem with.
Right. And then I'll go and I'll take that to the next step. If you're the ACC, where do you go from here? I mean, I think this is now a couple of years in a row that the committee has basically said, without being disrespectful, but it is being disrespectful. Your conference sucks. Your conference sucks is what it's saying, because there's no.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we go back to the Florida State. I mean, Miami's not really in this conversation. I mean, if you're the ACC, what do you need to do to show the committee that your conference doesn't suck? I mean, I guess it's the only way I can say it, because that's what we're a couple of years in a row now. That is the conference that is in essence been left out to dry.
Yeah, and I think there's going to be a lot more steam to getting rid of this 12 team playoff and moving forward from that. And they're not going to go down. We know they're not going to
Right.
do that. The most sensible thing would be to go to the top 8 here. But to go down to 8, they're more than likely going to go up to 16, which is going to be
Right.
just an absolute friggin' disaster. The fact that we're wasting a spot on a G5 and an ACC champion here, I think, is the biggest point. The other thing that I will also go back to is the fact that, when we look at this, the preseason rankings are part of why we're still clouded on certain teams. And the fact, again, I think the biggest thing that comes out of tonight is BYU's placement, and that Alabama is ahead of Notre Dame. So when you're looking at that 10, 11, 12, you're looking at Notre Dame, BYU, and Miami. If BYU this weekend were to get thrown in that proverbial phone booth by Texas Tech again, obviously they're out. But I think what's going to really, really, really start the firestorm here is the decision that gets made between Notre Dame and Miami if it comes down to one of the two of them for the last spot, because you've got just as many people saying Notre Dame is deserving and here's why, and then you've got the other people that are going, well, what the hell was the point of those two playing against each other? Where I insert in that conversation, the committee has already told us that what we saw in week 1 and week 2, they don't really care as much about, because if they did, what would we be talking about a lot more right now? Alabama's loss to Florida State in week 1, which we are not talking about. So I don't really think they view that head-to-head Notre Dame-Miami game as that important, which is the thing I think is going to start the firestorm as of Sunday night.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things. I mean, you look and, there's other teams. I mean, we talk about, the schedule and whatnot. And we talked about at the beginning of the year, we said if Notre Dame could, you know, win their first two games, the rest of the season, it was going to be exactly what we saw it was going to be. It was a steamroll. That was it. But what happened in those two games? They lost both of those. So, it's one of those things. I look at it and I go, in essence, the only two really good games that Notre Dame played, or teams that they played, they lost. And so, I mean, I don't know. It was. You asked about my weekend. I will tell you this about my weekend. I, I came out of this weekend with a dislike for college football. From everything that was happening on and off the field, I just it's a mess, and I don't know how people, this multi-million-dollar business, and that's exactly what it is, cannot look at this and see that this is, it's a black eye in college sports. It's a disgrace. It really is a disgrace. They've got to figure this out. This is, we shouldn't be having this conversation every year. Let's just put it that way. The whole thing, from, like I said, on the field and off the field. This week of college football ruined 13 or 14 weeks of good college football for me.
I'm gonna bag my thought right there for tomorrow's show. Interesting thing when I look at this too, in the placement of all these teams, Oregon being fifth, and I think there's something that people need to really, really put a couple of things together. The hot upset last was Washington knock off Oregon. You saw what happened there, and I think there's two things at play here for Oregon. Number one, they learned a very, very tough and harsh on a public stage lesson last year about this new form of the college football playoff in getting a bye, and then they get shithoused by Ohio State, which, I mean, to be fair, everybody did last year. I think Oregon is absolutely loving their position, because the fifth spot, as we know, is one that is quite coveted in this position. And I think not only being fifth, being the first team at the top side of those first round brackets, a game at Autzen, you're going to get an advantageous position, probably playing, Tulane, North Texas, or a James Madison, a team you would think Oregon would be able to handle. The other thing to remember here is, in this day and age of NIL, and we've talked about it in the NFL a lot this year with teams like San Francisco and Tampa Bay, and the teams that are really, still very much a player in things because of all the injuries that they've had. Oregon's another one of those teams that's got a lot of money sitting on the wing back list here, and Oregon having not having to play this weekend and getting a couple more weeks off before their first round games. Oregon, I think right now, is sitting pretty, looking at this going, we learned a lot from last year. And I also think you're going to get a little bit of this semblance from Oregon as this is our last time to shine here. Will Stein on his way to take the vacancy at Kentucky. Tosh Lapoy, a lot of people connecting his names to a few of these open jobs that are left that we'll talk about here in a second. I think you're going to see a very one last hurrah kind of approach from this Ducks team, who learned a lot from last year. To me, they're the most dangerous threat to either Ohio State or Indiana. And we're talking about a situation here where the Big Ten, Mac, could end up with two of the top four seeds, three of the top five seeds, and could have four at-large teams filter their way into this thing. There's no question which conference has been very, very damn good this year, and that was the Big Ten, and it's reflected in the rankings.
Yeah, I mean, surprise, surprise. I mean, right? I mean, we've talked about it the last couple of years. This is a conference that you probably, it sounds weird, but probably doesn't get the respect that it probably truly deserves. I mean, they're on a run of national championship teams, and they're going for another one this year. And I mean, if you look at the teams that are there, I mean, what team would you pick over any of those three? I mean, let's be honest. I mean, the two of the most consistent teams that we've had all year are Ohio State and Indiana. They've been the most consistent, probably in that run. I mean, Texas. I really like Texas Tech. I mean, their one bad stretch is when their quarterback was out, and I get that. But the other team that's been just as consistent as Oregon, and their only loss was it was their conference loss. So, listen. Uh, Kudos to that conference. They're just getting it right.
Yeah, and it's interesting when you look at the odds via DraftKings to make the college football playoff right now, and this came out after the bracket came out. So Notre Dame at a minus 400, Virginia at a minus 165, North Texas at a minus 135, Tulane at a plus 115, James Madison at a plus 140, BYU at a plus 380, and then they have Miami at a 10-1 odds to get into the college football playoff right here. So the way everything's kind of shook itself out and anticipating based on the odds what we are going to see this weekend would tell you that Notre Dame, Virginia, and North Texas would get in. As we know, plenty of things can change. The other hot topic this week, and part of what got you to the point where you just talked about, Mack, and souring on what's going on, especially in college sports, but in college football specifically, was the coaching carousel that all seemingly came to a crashing halt on Sunday with the SEC making their moves. John Summerall to Florida, Lane Kiffin, obviously, just in case you haven't heard, is now the head coach at LSU. You know, we got Silverfield over to Arkansas, and then Alex Golesh goes over to from USF to Auburn. And what we have here is we have just an absolute pillaging of the coaches in the American Conference here, and the Lane Kiffin domino was the one. Then we get added to it that Mark Stoops was let go the next day, already been replaced by Will Stein, as we mentioned, from Oregon. But that still leaves a job that is left open. As we know, Bob Chesney is rumored to be going from James Madison to UCLA, and here is Penn State still sitting here holding the bag. What we found out today is maybe Jimmy Sexton has a little bit to do with that, the super agent that reps a lot of these guys and was not happy about his other client, James Franklin, being let go. James Franklin has already hit the ground running at Virginia Tech here. Penn State's still holding the bag of who do we have? Who can we go after? And theirs was the first one open, and they're still standing here doing nothing. Oh, by the way, National Signing Day is tomorrow. They don't have a coach, and their class right now would be ranked to 129th out of 136th. That is a problem in Happy Valley.
Well, I just gave kudos to the conference. Maybe I should take that back because this is a program that is. I mean, we all know Penn State football is well represented. We know that. I don't understand this whole thing. I mean, just kind of the whole way it ended with Franklin. I mean, we saw the writing on the wall. We knew what was going to happen. It just amazes me because you have a team like Michigan State. How long did Michigan State go without a football coach? 30 seconds. I mean, I don't. Mm-hmm. I don't understand. So what is Penn State looking for? What are they doing? I mean, I don't understand. I mean, it's Penn friggin' State. It's not like I can't imagine people don't want to go there. So there's got to be something going on at Penn State that we don't know about to not wanting to attract. I mean, I don't get it. I mean, I need to know what. Tell me what's going on at Penn State.
I'm glad you brought it up because the two schools really need a talking to right now, and off the holiday season and a time for giving thanks and a time to celebrate joys and just a time to be around people that are going to give you the best advice. If you are Scott Strickland at Florida, the athletic director, and I use that term loosely because idiot is more of the official title there, you should listen. And if you are the athletic director at Penn State, which I can't remember his name off the top of my head, you should listen to this too, because I think both you, Florida, and Penn State need to hear this. You two are not what you think you are anymore. And that should be made no more evident by what's happened in both of these coaching searches. The latest update on Penn State is they've got cougar egg on their face because of their last-minute run-in where they thought because they were Penn State, they could steal Kalani Sitake from BYU. Right. He's now getting a new deal. You mentioned Pat Fitzgerald, who is now the head coach at Michigan State, who clearly had a plan when they let go of their coach just a few days ago. Florida and Penn State, you are not who you think you are anymore. Pat Fitzgerald was right there for you, a guy that knows the Midwest better than anything, but he wasn't good enough for you. Florida had their opportunity and have had multiple opportunities to get Lane Kiffin to his dream job. And depending on who you talk to, the athletic director, Scott Strickland, who's an idiot, or their lead booster, and I'm not going to give him the time of day because he's just a guy with a lot of money that thinks he has a say. The two of them screwed up Lane Kiffin going to Florida. I will tell you this, Florida fans, and I've seen the comparisons between John Summerall and Billy Napier, and I can't stress this to you enough. These two men are not the same. They are not the same. Billy Napier, good guy, good character guy, aw shucks, good old Southern dude, can build a program. John Summerall has a lot of those same personality traits. But what John Summerall has that Florida has been missing since, Urban Meyer, is John Summerall is like literally bleeds piss and vinegar, and that's what Florida needed. A guy that was going to be that passionate about Florida football. And of course, you can say whatever you want to win a press conference. But I think what Florida and Penn State have learned in this process here is they are not who they thought they once were. And sometimes you got to go down and build your way back up. I think Florida has started that process. The athletic director being removed, that'll help. What the hell is going on in Penn State? I have no friggin' idea, because at this point, Jeff Brom, if you ask him, will say yes, and he will be there in a second. But now it kind of looks like you're getting stuck with Jeff Brom, and I don't know if that's the best way to sell a fan base, Mack. I know you've talked a lot about this Penn State program over the last couple of years. I know where you grew up, Penn State was very much a topic of conversation on the regular in your house. Where am I wrong here, or do Florida and Penn State need to check themselves at their own doors?
No, I mean, obviously, I think you're right. I mean, they really do. It's it's hard to think of that, because a year ago, Penn State was a play away from winning a national championship. That's the crazy part of this. I mean, you joke. There's certain programs where it kind of sometimes it doesn't feel as though a coach matters, like Alabama. Like, I feel like you and I could go and coach Alabama and probably get into the college football playoffs just because of the name on the front. It's just the way that it is, and Penn State is like that. But I don't know. I mean, now you. When I think of Penn State now, here's what I think of. I think of a team that can't win a big game. And that was never the case with Penn State. That's how it is. I think it's an unsure football program with unsure leadership. That's what I think of from a program that's not the history of them. So yeah, I mean, there's a lot of jobs still out there. I don't know what they're looking for. What direction are you trying to go? I guess that's what I mean, let's be honest, I think most of the big names are probably already gone. So now you've got to go and, like you said, try to find somebody and kind of shoehorn them into your organization, because it can't feel like it's your first pick. I mean, right? I mean, you've waited this long, you've had all this time. Mm-hmm. You couldn't have gotten your first pick. I don't know who the first pick was, but apparently you didn't get it.
Or their second, third, seventh, or eighth at this point. And here's the last thing that I want to add to this, because it's been exhausting. Marty Smith, if he hasn't already been given the Emmy, give it to him now, because that coverage and the being held hostage memes and everything else were great. It was great to see
that
Lane
was the best part.
Give him the interview at the end. They have a very close relationship. And I'm going to step out here and I'm going to say I have no problem with what Lane Kiffin's doing right now. I really don't. Because this is not a Lane Kiffin problem like everybody wants to make it out to be. This is a college football calendar problem. And you're starting to hear more and more of the coaches speak up about it. You know, Joey McGuire from Texas Tech, he said everything should be moved up. That way the portal can properly open at the conclusion of the season. I'm all for that. This is a calendar problem. Here's the other thing I will tell you. Lane Kiffin, and we've all done this. We've all taken a better opportunity, whether it was for money, whether it was for location, whether it was for a life situation, whatever the case may be. Okay? So I have no problem with Lane Kiffin deciding that this was the next step for him. What should terrify you as a college football fan, and this goes back to how Florida, who had Lane Kiffin basically in their lap, screwed it up. The biggest thing that you've heard in all of this is you have to let Lane be Lane. And Florida was not willing to do that. And that's why Florida did not get Lane Kiffin when he was there for the taking for a long time. Scott Strickland and Gary Condren and the rest of the cronies that make up the decisions at Florida screwed this up. LSU is going to let Lane be Lane. Ironic after Governor Jeff Landry came out and said a responsible, incentive-based contract, and Lane Kiffin got a lot of money, and it didn't look like a responsible, done deal. They're going to let him be Lane, and he's going to have LSU's resources to be Lane. And I'm telling you, and you'll remember this conversation, Mac. It was a couple of years ago. It was before Quinshon Judkins transferred to Ohio State and left Ole Miss. It was going into that offseason, and I remember exactly where I was when I called you. I said, hey, don't let me forget this. I have it written down somewhere at home, but I'm saying it again. Ole Miss is going to be dangerous with Lane Kiffin and what he has. Quinshon Judkins never played on that team. Transferred to Ohio State, as we all know. Now you see what they got here. Lane Kiffin was tired of having his roster poached by the schools like the one he just went to coach. And the resources he's going to have at LSU, that's a scary proposition, I think, for all of college football, because LSU is smart enough to let Lane be Lane. You were the one that brought this up a few weeks ago. LSU is a program that has an edge. They don't care what conference you play in. They don't care where you come from. They're LSU, and you're not, and they just got the best person to exemplify that entire mentality in Lane Kiffin, and I'm not mad at anybody in the process. I'm really not.
No, you're right again. The process is the problem. It's not a Lane Kiffin. I mean, he's going to do what he wants to. Yeah, there you go. There you go. But I mean, I think Rick Pitino, with the way he spelled it out, I thought was really good. It's like you wouldn't expect a coach on a selection Sunday to say, oh, by the way, I'm leaving. Right? I mean, the way the timing of this is just bad. Again, it just, like I said, just the whole way all these coaches just changed. And again, I get it. Like you said, they're doing what's best for themselves. It was a lot. It just and then you see, you go on Twitter and you see like all these kids decommitting from one school and going to another school. It's like I said, college football, you're a multi-billion business. Get it right. Figure it out. Come on, guys. I mean, you got to have smart enough people in there to figure this out. It shouldn't be that difficult. And if you can't figure it out, damn it, let us do it, because we can do a better job than what you're doing. Because right now you're doing a shit-ass job.
I think very well said. All right, I got a question for you before we transition out of this. Obviously, we'll get more into the championship week matchups tomorrow on the program. All three of us here will give you our games that we're most looking forward to. Obviously, it's pretty cut and dry to see what impacts what the most. But final thing on this Miami, Notre Dame, and let's throw BYU into the conundrum here. So, and I'm going to give credit where this is due here, because Ken's Brooks on X, she pointed this out. I think this is how you need to think about it going into this weekend. Miami's ticket to the playoff is not the head-to-head over Notre Dame. It's being ranked above Oklahoma and BYU. Is it probable? She says no, but the committee has shown us that that's the only way, and if they cared about what happens in week one, here you go. we'd hear a lot more about Bama and FSU. So let me ask you this question. If BYU were to lose a solid game, a good game, the game we thought we were going to see the first time to Texas Tech, do you keep BYU in the field knowing that their only 2 losses were both to Texas Tech? Don't think about who you'd have to push out. Think about the body of work.
Yeah. I'll tell you, I would probably I would still lean towards Miami. I think Miami deserves to be in. That's just me. I think Miami deserves to be in.
Would you take, so you'd take Miami over Notre Dame if you had to choose between those?
I would take Miami. I think they deserve to be in.
I think there's a lot of people that would sit in that exact spot.
I mean, I just go back to watching them. I know, again, towards the beginning of the season, in fact, in our Mack 12, we had them as they were our first number 1 team for quite a few weeks. I mean, they were a pretty dominant team, and they're still a pretty dominant team. To me, to not have Miami in this seems wrong. I think they've done enough through the course of the season to get in.
I think that's fair, and I think it'll be interesting. And again, that goes down on, I believe it's Sunday is the day. Let me get my right. Yeah, it is Sunday. It's the final rankings come out on Sunday morning as per usual. So obviously a lot to watch. As I said, we'll get into those games a little bit more in detail tomorrow. Let's look at where we're at in the NFL right now, because this is getting really, really interesting. And I think the biggest way to sum up this season, Mac, is if you look at the NFC standings right now, in the constituents that's not even a word, but we'll run with it, that make up the playoff teams in the NFC. Your number 1 seed, TJ's Chicago at 9-3, winning the tiebreaker over the Rams on best winning percentage in conference games. So the Bears at 6-2, the Rams at 4-3. The 7th place team in the NFC is the 9-4 49ers. Here's what'll tell you everything that you need to know. The 49ers are off this week, and their next game is against Tennessee, and then they finish with Indy, Chicago, Seattle, 2 of those 3 at home. San Francisco is not playing this weekend, and despite not playing, they can move up. They will move up, guaranteed at least 1 spot in the playoff rankings because of the game between the Packers and the Bears. There is another scenario this weekend that could play out, Mac, where the 49ers on their bye week could go from 7th to 1st, not even playing. And if that doesn't sum up where we are in the NFC, I don't know what does right there. You can be off and potentially come back in a home game against Tennessee and be the number 1 seed in the NFC. If you missed everything and you were in a coma all year in the NFL, there you go. That sums it up. And you're going, but wait, how the hell did the Bears get to the top? That's a different story for a different day. Does that not sum up the entire NFL season so far?
Yeah, I mean 100%. I mean that is absolutely ridiculous. I mean, it's. I've said. I mean, I'm trying to think of an analogy. It's kind of like a salad. I mean, it's like a tossed salad. I mean, you just every week we toss a salad and let's see what's at the top of the salad. Because I mean we just don't know. And then you just scoop another week and you go, oh look, I didn't know that was there. and what I mean by that is, I mean I'm gonna say these words. I can't believe it. I mean the Dallas Cowboys. I mean all of a sudden the Dallas Cowboys have to be talked about as a potential playoff team. And I'll be honest with you, watching them the last couple weeks, I don't know that I want a part of the Dallas Cowboys right now. They're playing that well, but Dallas Cowboy fan, beware, because it seems that every train that has started to roll in the NFL this year has fallen off the tracks. So we'll see. But that's a great tidbit, Mike. That really is. That's it's almost hard to wrap your head around, but that's crazy.
I had to read it like 3 different times today, and then I, obviously because I'm a nerd, I went and cross-checked I'm like, oh shit, that's right, they could not even play this weekend, and wake up on Tuesday morning as the number one seed in the NFC. And when you look at this week's schedule, not that we're going to get super into it, but there's some massive games that really kind of go along with that. And a lot of that was set up, Mac. We had the short show on Friday, so we had already kind of talked about the Thanksgiving games. Let's go to Black Friday in the game, and your words exactly in this Bears Chicago or the Bears Eagles game in Philly was that this is exactly when Philadelphia seems to get us when we think they're down and out. And I agreed with you, and we have seen it plenty of times. But what we've also seen now is the 2023 Eagles might be, guess who's back and back again, because they're doing the same thing. Kyle Monangai and DeAndre Swift ran a freaking hole through the Eagles defense, all over them on the ground. This Bears team is hot, man.
Yeah, I think we take teams and we all do this and we just say, oh well, it's okay. They're gonna find a way. Insert Philadelphia, insert Kansas City, in those scenarios. And we keep thinking that they're gonna be okay. They're Detroit, insert them into that as well. We keep thinking they're gonna be all right. And here's the thing. We're to the point now where I think we have to really look at it and go, okay, the Bears are the Bears. They're a 9-3 team. The you know the Eagles are 8-4. Where are they trending? They're not trending in the right direction. There's too many issues with this team right now to think that they're going to turn it around, because we've seen it now for the better part of a month that they haven't turned it around. And so, again, we have to start understanding that teams are who they are. I mean, I think a good example is, like the Commanders. I mean, the other night, it's like, they were your Washington Commanders last year. What the hell has happened to the Washington Commanders? Well, this is kind of who they are this year. This is what they are. And so, I'll use the Lions as an example. Are the Lions a good football team? Let's be honest. The Detroit Lions are not a good football team this year. Why? Well, let's point to the thing that we talked about at the beginning of the year. They lost both their coordinators. We said it takes a while for that to happen. Yeah, they have some of the same players, but it doesn't matter. You have different people calling different things and doing things in a different way. You can say it's the same. It's not the same. The Detroit Lions aren't a good football team this year. They're not a bad football team. They're not a Super Bowl team.
Yeah, and we go through these results, and we get through and we go and look at the Sunday games. Jacksonville has now moved themselves up to the 3 seed in the AFC because they now own the lead in the South, with the Texans hard and charging. The Colts got a guy playing on a broken freaking leg, basically, and have not looked the same. And this AFC South is nowhere near done because, as we know, Indy has another game with Jacksonville and 2 with Houston. They also play San Francisco in that mix and Seattle. Like, you can look at this kind of projecting out for the Colts. You can look at this and go, I can foresee a situation where the Colts don't win another game this year, which would be a hell of a collapse from the start of the year.
Yeah, I can't believe Jones played last week. But what I was kind of giggling at is all I could think of this weekend with TJ is he's not only going to have to watch the Bears in the playoffs, he's going to have to watch that Saturday game with the Texans in there as well. And so I'm like, oh man,
while wearing a Caleb Williams jersey too.
Oh my gosh. Oh, because I mean, again, that's another team. Houston just.
I am, now I will tell you. Yeah, right now you can get Houston. This will sound crazy. You can get Houston to win the AFC at plus 1,200, and you'd go, yeah. Nah. I'm not sure that anybody in the AFC wows me enough where I wouldn't see the Texans with a red-hot defense being that damn good and that hard to get out in the postseason. At 1,200, I don't think it's a terrible bet.
No, I don't either. I mean, I still, after last night, I know the Patriots, people are going to say their schedule, this, that, and the other thing, but that Patriots team is something that is. how can you as as Tennessee look at that and know that you gave up Vrabel? I mean, what he does to that team, the way they come out with a swagger, the way they come out and hit. I mean, they that hit on Jackson Dart last night was uh, that's a Patriots football team that uh, again I like them. I like that. May is a really good. I mean, the throws that he made last night and has made throughout the course of the year. I don't think the Patriots have been given enough credit for what they've done. This is a good football team.
I will say this: the hit on Jackson Dart, which was completely clean and legal, the first one I'm talking about,
Yeah.
was a very much Mike Vrabel's days as a Patriots, Rodney
Hmm.
Harrison kind of hit. It was a tone setter early in that game. I still am holding out a little bit of judgment on the Patriots until I see them play Baltimore, until I see them play Buffalo again. That's
Yeah.
where I'll be able. But I will say this: last night,
So,
yes, playing the Giants. Obviously, the Giants can literally uh, kick themselves in the foot. They can kick themselves out of games. They can miss kicking a ball on a field goal attempt. That's Giants football for you. I was impressed that the Patriots and I got a little bit of shit yesterday for what I said in the video. Like, hey, they remind me of last year's Commanders with a better defense or beating up on bad quarterbacks in a weak schedule. But I also said you have to give them credit for taking care of what's been in front of them. And when you
mhm.
see games like last night, you can tell me that they haven't played anybody all you want. But what I saw is a team that knows how to go out and not play with their food and get the job done. And that's also very impressive from a team that is playing a quote unquote weak schedule. So
Yeah.
I want to see what happens in that Baltimore game and in the Buffalo game, but I was impressed despite them beating up on the Giants last night with what I saw.
We had a fun conversation last night. Of course, the Patriots wearing their Pat Patriot uniforms, which are absolutely fantastic, by the way. So the conversation was this: my Jason, who he's my oldest son, he was like, "Dad, those uniforms are great." He goes, "I'm gonna go old school." I said, "Old school?" He goes, "Yeah." He goes, "If I'm gonna get one of those, I'm gonna go old school." I'm like, "Who are you going with on the back of your shirt?" He goes,
Oh
"I'm going
no,
with."
this is not going to end well.
He goes, "I'm going with Rob Gronkowski." And
Ah,
I was like, dude, that's not old school.
old school.
And then my wife pops up with, yeah, old school. I'm gonna go with Teddy Bruschi. And I'm like, guys, that's not old school.
Oh
I
jeez,
got the guy. You know who I'm going with. Stanley Morgan. That's old
the
school.
only guy oh, see, I'd go Steve Grogan.
Yeah, I was a Stanley Morgan guy, but I can't tell you how many passes in the backyard were Grogan to Stanley
Mama,
Morgan. Let me tell
hold on. For context here, the only reason Mama Mac said old school and said Ted Bruschi is because of where Teddy Bruschi played college football, not
you.
because she
Yeah,
wanted to go old school. If you
yeah.
can
Well,
follow the
that's
tea leaves there out there in viewer land, you'll get what we're saying. But Mac, another team we've talked about, and two teams in the South in the NFC side of things that are in a neck and neck race with each other because all of us had this on our bingo card: the 7-6 Panthers who knocked off the Rams, and the 7-5 Buccaneers who knocked off the Cardinals in a game that was more of a game in the second half than it was in the first half. This team continue to tell us if you give the team to play, we will show up to play. If we're playing a bad team, that's where, hey, can't make any promises here because they go in, they turn Matt Stafford over like it's going out of style, and they get a big win to keep themselves in the race, a good bounce back for them after the Monday night game, and a loss that seemingly could be detrimental in the long term future of the Rams here. The Rams and the Niners have both split, but the Rams still have a game left with the Seahawks, and there's still some stuff at play here within the Rams schedule as well. A very, very poor performance by the Rams, Mac, but not something that you and I have not both pointed out. At times, their offense can look very disjointed and out of sync, and that was the case on Sunday.
Yeah, and their defense didn't look really all that good as well. I think that was a bigger concern for me was how the Rams looked from a defensive standpoint. I mean, because I mean Carolina, I think McMillan, he only had I think like one catch the whole game. I mean, they took him out of the game, and yet they still you know I don't know. That was that Rams Panthers game. I watched most of it. I just kind of sat there and was taking it all in. I couldn't believe what I was seeing. I really didn't. I really thought the Rams were going to be able to take control of that game, and it seems like every time they went to take control, that Carolina team came right back. So I was really impressed overall with Carolina.
Yeah, that Rams Seahawks game that's coming up is going to be absolutely fantastic. And it comes in
Yes.
Seattle on a Thursday night here in just a few weeks, right before Seattle plays the Colts, also up in Seattle. So Seattle also in a great position there. They blanked Minnesota 26-0. Sam Darnold threw for 128 yards, no touchdowns and no picks, and he had the better quarterback numbers because Max Brosmer was in for the Vikings, who threw for 126 yards, but 4 picks, including one of which he literally just gift wrapped it to Ernest Jones for a pick six there, and Minnesota was never in. And the Seattle, even when they look on offense, that defense is that damn good as they pitch a shutout at Lumen in a game where Jackson Smith and Jigba was taken out of the game basically entirely. AJ Barner was the leading receiver for the Seahawks this week at 35 yards receiving. Just shows how multifaceted that Seattle team is and how dangerous they are. And people, I still am not hearing their name bandied about enough as far as a respect level for the Seahawks team. Real damn good.
Here's the thing. I think Seattle and Tampa Bay got off to such really good starts that I think we've kind of forgotten about them. I mean, they've kind of played about 500 the rest, the second part here and into the next part of the season. So we haven't really focused on them so much because I think of everything that's kind of happened with Detroit falling off and the Bears being there and the Rams kind of coming up. I think we've kind of forgotten about those two teams, and they're two teams that from a Tampa Bay standpoint, they're starting to get their guys back now. They're starting to get healthy. Um, like I said, I don't know. This is the first year from an NFL standpoint. At this point of the season, if you ask me who would be in the Super Bowl, I honestly don't know. I really, truly don't know. I can't put my. We kind of talked. You mentioned this, like who's the flavor of the week. I kind of feel that's how we have to go. I mean, I don't know. I mean, in either conference, who I would pick. I mean, I look at like Denver and I'm thinking, yeah, but every time I watch them, like they play good, but they don't impress me. But at the end of the day, they got 10 wins. So I mean, Denver and Chicago, would that be would that be appealing to you? Denver and Chicago?
You know what the Super Bowl is going to be. I told you guys at the beginning of the year when I said the Bears would win the North, Detroit would miss the playoffs, the Super Bowl was going to be San Francisco and Buffalo. And clearly everything we've seen happen to this point shows us that is without a doubt the exact matchup that we're going to get in Santa Clara. It's San Francisco and Buffalo. We'll talk about Buffalo and Pittsburgh. You're going to want to make sure you're here tomorrow for us talking about Pittsburgh.
Nope.
We'll talk about the AFC side of the picture. The Broncos get a win that Mack mentioned. Again, not impressive, but they get a come-from-behind win. They're 10-2. We'll talk about the AFC side of the picture a lot more tomorrow. It is a Tuesday, which means it's a Ticket Tuesday on the program, and Vegas Mac has done the legwork for you. If you've got the itch to go to a championship weekend game, he has got the deals for you. Who are you going to call Mac Busters on the ticket front? What do you got on this Ticket Tuesday before we get out of here?
This is, of course, with not all the games that we normally have. This one's a little more difficult. I kind of, my cheap pockets kind of got a little exposed this week. The cheapest of the championship games is $29. That was going to be the AAC, the American Athletic Championship, North Texas and Tulane, $29. That's the best that I could do. So I had to look around a little bit. We could go to an NFL game for $8. That would be Tennessee and Cleveland. Get to see Sanders, I guess, at
You said
quarterback.
NFL game, you liar.
Yeah, sorry. And I also said NBA. We could go see the Clippers and Memphis play for $7. That might be a waste of $6 probably, or $7. Um, I did find a not so good college basketball game. University of Texas and San Antonio at Alabama for $5. I mean, it's a good Alabama team. I can kind of go with that. I found something interesting. I almost fell off my chair.
Oh, Jesus. Every time you
I
say that, I cringe.
I was looking at basketball tickets, and at one point, North Florida, and it's there right now. North Florida at Gonzaga, Friday night, or excuse me, Sunday, December 7th. Tickets as low as $417.
That's at Gonzaga, though.
$417.
Gonzaga basketball, man. It's a ticket up there.
Gonzaga basketball. I mean, I looked up, there's not a ticket for sale. You can't buy one. So this has got to be on some sort of Gonzaga black market. But $417, it's North Florida. I mean,
Gonzaga black market.
right. It's not like it's Washington or Washington. It's North friggin' Florida. So we need to probably figure out why.
You can find the Gonzaga black market at zagsrule.com. That's where you find that.
I'm just blown away. $417 on the Gonzaga black market. I didn't think that was legal.
I don't understand why. You got me excited there. You were like, we can get to a college football championship game for $29, and you said A, and I was waiting for C to follow that, because the ACC title game, I don't know if I'd pay $9, let alone $49. I would pay $49 to watch North Texas and Tulane play. I think that's going to be a fantastic game. And I think Friday night, like if you look at it, I think Troy and James Madison, that's an interesting one to me. The Kennesaw State thing, that's a fun story if they can pull that off. But you look at those last two games on Friday night, North Texas and Tulane and UNLV Boise.
Yeah.
Like, those are two good games on a Friday night. And then the Big 12, right away, Saturday morning, first thing we get BYU and Texas Tech. So, like, and again, we'll get more into these. We're all going to give which one we're most excited to see tomorrow, and then we'll give the ACC a little bit of love, because I hate to break it to you, ACC, it didn't make it to our Saturday schedule this week. It's the one game we're not talking about of the major ones, because most people that have seen Virginia, not very impressed. I think Duke is actually a really good football team. It's ironic that the guy that Miami fired is in the ACC title game with Duke, and the guy that they hired to replace him is on the outside looking in at likely the entire playoff. Kind of an ironic twist there. So, any final thoughts on this Tuesday night? We've got a packed show tomorrow as we get back into the normal swing of things before there's more time off, because then there's more holidays in college. I cannot wait till the weekend, Mack, of December 20th. That's going to be insane. We've got an NFL doubleheader that day, as well as 3 college football playoff opening round games, like that 19th to 20th here. And we're not that far away from it. That's going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah, absolutely. I want to head out and get my first look at Braylon Mullins tonight. UConn playing at Kansas. I haven't seen him play yet, so I'm excited about that. See what he could do. He only played 10 minutes the other day. I don't think he'll get much more than that, but I'm anxious to see what he looks like. I mean, I know what he looks like, but I mean, playing
Yeah,
basketball.
yeah, I'm sure you know what he looks like. Florida and Duke in the final 5 minutes of that game at Cameron, 59-53. Duke has the lead. Purdue pounding Rutgers, and of course, UConn and Kansas that Mack just mentioned about halfway through the first quarter. North Carolina and Kentucky coming up tonight as well. So a loaded day on this Tuesday of hoops. Syracuse continues to play solid basketball at the start of the year. They upset Tennessee today, and always hurts my heart when Tennessee loses anything in college athletics, especially their baseball coach Tony Vitello to the Giants. We got some baseball stuff to talk about as well on tomorrow's program. So for Vegas, Mac, for TJ, we've got plenty of stuff. We got you covered. All kinds of stuff going on. We'll get more into the college football playoff rankings and why or why not you should care about championship weekend on tomorrow's program. Until then, same bat time, same bat channel. You know the drill.